This is the Shaw Report with Damian Banks.
Hello.
What's happening? What's up? What's going on? It's the Shaw Report, and I am your host, Damian Banks. Shaw Bears alum and fans, rejoice. You now have your very own podcast hosted by moi. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Sports by Damian. That's SportsByDaimeon. Shaw U Athletics is also on social media. On Twitter, it's at Shaw Bears. On Instagram, it's at SU_Bears. And you can also like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Shaw Bears. Another week is in the books. I hope everyone had a fantastic week past. I did myself. Very hectic, very rewarding week though. I would be remiss if I didn't congratulate my better half, my wife, on getting her executive MBA from the prestigious Keenan Flagler Business School at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I know it's a lot of Tar Heel fans out there. Even though you went to Shaw, it's okay. You don't have to lie to me. You ain't got a lot of kick it, Craig. It's a lot of Carolina fans out there. So congratulations to my wife, man. She is my inspiration. I look up to her. I want to be like my wife when I grow up. Hold up, that didn't come out right. I don't want to. Yeah, I'm very proud of you, LaShawn. You got your MBA. You know what that means. More money, more money, more money. But I digress. You are listening to the Shaw Report. Again, I'm Damian Banks. The show is jam-packed this week. We're going to talk about football. We're going to talk about volleyball. We're going to talk about cross country. We're going to give you the Shaw Bears scoreboard. I'm also going to give you the CIAA scoreboard, and I have a fantastic interview with the head coach of the men's and women's soccer team. Luis Cortell is going to join the Shaw Report. I told you, man, it's on and popping 10. So without further ado, let's do it. You know we have to start with football. It's football season. It's the most popular sport in America. Contrary to what people believe, football is king in the United States of America. So we're going to start with the Shaw University football program. Had a tough road game within the CIAA conference at Winston-Salem State this past Saturday. Head coach Adrian Jones and his Bears squad made that trip up 85-40 to get to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to take on the Winston-Salem State Rams. And it was homecoming in Winston. But Shaw was on the verge of spoiling yet another HBCU homecoming. Last week, Shaw was trying to spoil Johnson C. Smith's homecoming, and it looked like they would pull off that win on the road. Ultimately, the Bears fell 10-13 at Johnson C. Smith. And this week at Winston-Salem State, the Bears were in position again to break the hearts of all the Rams fans and alumni. But in the end, Shaw fell in overtime, 21-27 to the Winston-Salem State Rams. Another Southern Division loss for Shaw. And I think if Shaw could have won this game, they would have really shook up that Southern Division, would have put themselves in a position to possibly, be in a tie for that Southern Division crown. Now, it was 14-14 at the half. And Shaw they were feeling pretty good about themselves. Quarterback Daring Downing was playing pretty well, had 151 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, also led the team in rushing with 66 yards, and Shaw outgained Winston-Salem State for this game in total offense, 272-227. Also, on the offensive side of things, wide receiver Daniel Bender, he had a pretty good game, had a 53-yard touchdown reception that knotted the game at 21, and ultimately that sent that game to overtime. Defensively, you know who it is. Devin Hunt, 12 tackles. Familiar face. He's a tackling machine. And freshman Jaleel Scroggins, 13 tackles, 12 solo. Yeah, you heard it right. 12 solo tackles for the freshman Jaleel Scroggins. So defensively, Shaw played pretty well. And like I said, Winston-Salem State only had 227 yards of total offense. Farrell Murchison, 125 yards. Jahiz Lineberger, 95 yards rushing for Winston-Salem State. Quarterback Rod Tinsley only had 95 yards passing, so that secondary that was much maligned in weeks past for Shaw has been stepping up in a major way these last couple of weeks, and they limited a pretty good quarterback at Winston-Salem State in Rod Tinsley to only 95 yards passing. But in the end, Shaw lost another close game. And I know the Bears are feeling down. They're feeling sick right now because they've lost several close games this season. And from my perspective, last year Shaw was getting blown out. So it's major improvements to I know you don't want to lose, but it's major improvements to lose close games. You'll learn from losing close games. You'll turn it around and start to win these close games. You know, you're 3-6. That's not a great record. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But you've lost a lot of close games if you're a Shaw Bears fan or alumni, and you've made marketed improvements during this season as opposed to last season where it just seems like nothing went right for Shaw last year. Again, Shaw falls to 3-6 on the season, 2-4 in the Southern Division. And next week, the Bears host Raleigh rival St. Augs. It's going to be homecoming at Shaw. It's the last game of the season at home, so it's senior night at Durham County Memorial Stadium. So everyone come out, support your Shaw Bears. Kickoff is set for 12 p.m. Shaw can play the role of spoiler. They can knock off St. Augs, knock them out of the Southern Division lead. Right now, it's a three-way tie in the South between Fayetteville State, Shaw, and Winston-Salem. They're all 4-2 in the Southern Division. And if Shaw can come up with that win next week on Senior Day and for homecoming, you can spoil your rival season. And right now, playing spoiler, that'd be pretty awesome if you're a Shaw Bear, man. You're not going to be able to represent the Southern Division in the CIAA championship game, but you can play the role of spoiler and knock off St. Augs. Don't you want to be a spoiler? Don't you want to be a week-old cup of milk in the refrigerator and spoil St. Augs season? Wouldn't that be nice? The doors of the church are open. Won't you come on in? But I digress. You are listening to the Shaw Report. I'm Damian Banks. I told you the show is jam-packed. We have a great interview with head coach of the men's and women's soccer team, Luis Cortell, coming up. We're going to give you the Shaw scoreboard where we go around the athletic department and highlight all the other programs. And we're going to end the show with the CIAA scoreboard. But before we do all that, we have to take this commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Head coach of the men's and women's soccer team, Luis Cortell, is up next on the Shaw Report on Spreaker Radio. Hey Shaw Bears fans, refresh your game day with the new and improved real Coca-Cola taste of Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. With 0 calories and 0 sugar. It's college sports' newest tradition. Grab an ice-cold Coca-Cola Zero Sugar and taste the feeling. Coca-Cola, proud sponsor of Shaw University Athletics.
You are listening to the Shaw Report with Damian Banks.
Welcome back to the Shaw Report. I am Damian Banks. Again, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SportsByDamian. You can also follow Shaw Bears Athletics on social media. On Twitter, it's at Shaw Bears. On Instagram, it's SU_Bears. And on Facebook, like us, facebook.com/Shaw Bears. As promised, our guest for the Shaw Report this week is a man who needs no introduction. He is finishing up his second season at Shaw University, head coach of the men's and women's soccer team, Coach Luis Cortell. Coach Cortell, thank you for joining the Shaw Report.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Now, again, you are in your second season, about to finish up your second season at Shaw University. For the fans and alumni of Shaw who don't know much about you, just tell us a little bit about your background in the world of soccer.
So I've been playing soccer for an entire of my life. I started in Spain. That's where I'm from, and I played for fairly big, important teams in my city. And then I had the chance to go play semi-professional soccer in Colorado a long time ago. So I moved to Colorado when I was 16 years old, trying to make it to the MLS, and that didn't work out so well because that was 1996. That's where they passed the rule that you can only have 3 foreign players in the team. So typically MLS franchises don't sign 16-year-old kids. They sign players that are in their national teams. And then from there, I ended up in a college in Ohio, played 4 years there, and then I played semi-professional soccer in another team in Ohio for 3 more years after that. And then I've been coaching NCAA soccer for 14 years, and I was lucky enough 3 or 4 years ago to have won my first national championship. Then we won another national championship after that, and then I finished up at Shaw University. So trying to create another legacy here.
Coach, your experience at the both collegiate and professional level, I'm sure, helps you as a head coach. Now, at Shaw University, you coach both the men's and the women's team. Juggling those two responsibilities can be quite hectic, I'm sure. How are you able to do that so successfully?
Well, the first thing you need to be able to coach both is you need good assistant coaches. And Matt and Josh, my assistant coaches, they're both excellent. So that makes it a little bit easier for me. And then after that, it's about managing your time. So if you think about a student, so I'm recruiting students that come here and they got to go to class, they got to do soccer, and they have to work, right? Well, I'm asking there to have a schedule that is manageable by them, and then in return, I manage my schedule to make sure I don't shortchange other program. Because both of the programs are important to me. It's not like if one program is doing better, I invest myself there more. Nah, you have to invest yourself equally. If you don't invest yourself equally, then you got to stop coaching one of the both teams. So when you have good assistant coaches and then you have good team captains, that time becomes a lot better. I work 14 hours a day, and I'm used to it. It's not a big deal.
At the roster for the women's soccer team, and you have quite a bit of, U.S.-born players. You have some international players, but on the men's side of things, the roster is the majority of international players. So you recruit both domestically and internationally. How is that recruiting process when you're bringing in a potential student athlete from another country?
Well, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where the player is from. What it matters is can they come to this level and can they compete at this level. So it just happens to be that soccer is an international game. So a lot more people outside the United States play soccer, and they email you. In my background, I've been fortunate enough that in my previous school we had a lot of players that play for national teams. I had a player that played for the Olympic qualifiers. We got a player here right now that is playing for the CONCACAF qualifiers to qualify for the World Cup. So I've been lucky on that point, but when it comes to recruitment, we're open to take kids from wherever they come from. I've just been fortunate to have international students, and since I have an international student background, it's easy to relate to those players trying to make the jump overseas.
Again, we are talking to head coach Luis Cortell of both the men's and women's soccer team at Shaw University. You're listening to the Shaw Report, and I'm Damian Banks. Now, Coach Cortell, we've talked about your background in soccer. We talked about how you juggle both men's and women's soccer teams and your recruiting for domestic and international players. Now, again, coaching both these teams and also having all your games on the road has to be a challenge. I know your team has come together. The men's team is having a pretty good season as well as the women's team. You're going to finish up on Tuesday at Washington Advantis. What are the challenges of playing all of your games on the road?
Well, the main problem that we have is we don't have a training field. We don't have a game field. So we got to rent the training field. We got to rent the game field. And that takes, for preseason, it's about 30 minutes away. For the regular season, it's 15 minutes away. So the bus transportation is challenging. But when you play in the road the first year, you can challenge all your young players. Because if you look at the roster, we're a bunch of freshmen and sophomores. And the ones that are sophomores, actually, most of them did not play college soccer and are now freshmen in college soccer. So the first year you go yourself in the road, you test yourself, you learn to manage class time and away time. And then what happens is the following year, we're going to be that much better because now all of our players are road tested.